if you think you're going to do it in your own strength, then you know what? Yeah, you can do it.
COVID, it's been helping people move their businesses from offline or brick and mortar to online.
Systems are more important than skills as an entrepreneur today.
It's totally okay to reinvent yourself multiple times, especially when you're an entrepreneur.
Welcome to Profitable Coaching Conversations with Wendy Y. Bailey. If you're a coach, speaker, or industry expert, you're in the right place for sales and marketing wisdom and insight to grow your coaching business. Now, here's your host, Income Acceleration Mentor, Wendy Y. Bailey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Profitable Coaching Conversation Show. I'm really tickled to introduce you to our guest for this episode. Ann Betz is one of the leading experts around neuroscience and coaching. We're today going to talk about selling as well, and she's got a lot to say, and I can't wait to jump in. You ready, Ann?
I'm ready. Thank you, Wendy Y. I'm excited for this conversation.
So am I. So first of all, talk to us about neuroscience.
Where should I start? Neuroscience, really, it's such a huge area. What's interesting is it's a fairly new area of understanding, because we have the technology to get a better look at what we kind of think is happening in the brain. So as technology improves, we actually do get maybe a better sense of what's going on in the brain. And so, certainly in the last 10 years, it's kind of been the decade of the brain. And that means that places that weren't thinking about neuroscience as much, like leadership and coaching, are now saying this is relevant to what we do. And that's kind of how I came into it.
Wow, that's fascinating. So I know as an NLP practitioner that looking at the brain is really valuable, and how the brain functions and what it takes in and how it processes information is very significant. So I can see the impact that it can have on coaching and the effectiveness it can have on coaching. When you started out this process, I know that it was new, relatively new still, but when you started really digging into it and doing the research, I know it was around 2012. What was happening for you around your white paper that led you more into this renowned space that you're in?
Well, the sort of the truth, and I'll try to make it as bottom line as possible, is that my business partner and I, and we've been together for almost 20 years. She was my first coach. Yeah, she's amazing. We were working on trying to understand levels of human effectiveness, which you might also call awareness or consciousness. And that was our big project in life. We were doing training around that and developing models around that. And it was very, very powerful work, but it felt like either people believed it or they didn't. And the people that believed it didn't really need any convincing. They just thought it was a great model to play with. But the people that sort of didn't believe it just thought it was just a theoretical thing that you could either believe or not. And for us, in terms of our work with energy and who we are as human beings, it didn't feel like it was just an optional thing. It felt more like this really is how human beings operate. And there's tremendous value in understanding that. So, it was the proverbial Wendy Y preaching to the choir. You know that one.
I do.
Lord. So I started seeing across my desk, I started seeing more neuroscience articles come up, just even about things like having an amygdala hijack, for example, or getting flooded when you're very upset and not being able to think clearly, right? And so I started thinking, well, there are some, I call them breadcrumbs in the forest, that are leading me to, I think we can validate this model of consciousness through the brain, or at least start that project. So that was the original impetus around going and studying neuroscience. I studied at a number of different places, one of which was the Neuro Leadership Institute. And then I got a chance to study directly with Dr. Dan Siegel. So there was some really cool stuff there.
Sure.
So the real bridge was that as I got into this, looking for these breadcrumbs around consciousness in the brain, what I started seeing that nobody was talking about was coaching in the brain. So probably the first thing that hit me was we were doing work in class on stress and the research on stress reduction. And everything that they said, I'm like, well, we do that, we do that, we do that. Focus on values, that reduces stress. Focus on taking a new perspective, that reduces stress. Boom, boom, boom. I thought nobody knows how valid what we're doing is. So that was kind of how it was born, and what was the, you know, the doorway that I went through. It's like, darn it all, people still think that coaching is this kind of weird thing that you can't explain.
No,
but if you start
it's
not, is it? It's like rational. So
very much so. And I think that, you know, this sounds kind of odd for me to say it this way, but I think what happens when you understand functionality and how the brain really works and processes information, you can literally push buttons. When you're working with clients as a coach, you can push those buttons, and it's not a negative. It really is about helping them tap into something because you've pushed a button here, or helping them release something, a limiting belief or a fear about something or some other kind of phobia. You can push that button and it releases that from them, and they can focus on things. That's, to me, what I do as a coach, and I can't imagine not having the technology to do it. I do NLP, you call it neuroscience. I know it's a little different, but they're connected because of the impact on the brain.
yeah, exactly. There's a huge overlap there, like Venn diagram. We look at areas of the brain that NLP doesn't necessarily look at because we're trying to get a really broad view. But then NLP has really cool strategies that we don't necessarily use. I really love how you say that. And one of the things that I've seen with bringing neuroscience into my practice, and we've trained thousands of people how to do this. I think it's accurate to say thousands. It's a lot. We've been doing it for 10 years. Lots. Is I think that some of what we understand in coaching, master coaches, people who've been doing it for a long time, intuitively start understanding through their practice. They start understanding that if, for example, if somebody comes in very disrupted all over the place in that tornado mind, an experienced coach knows the last thing you want to do is broaden them out more.
Yeah.
You want to
disrupt the pattern.
Right? And so the pattern is crazy all over the place. What the button to push is, we got to narrow things down. We got to look at what are maybe the 3 things that are most important. Narrow the brain down, right? And if somebody comes in very narrow and rigid, we start intuitively feeling like we got to broaden them up, right? We got to help them take other perspectives. Nobody told me this in coaching school. They just told me, these are great tools and you should do this with your client, but there wasn't a good sense of, but they're not always the right tool for how the client comes in. So I think what neuroscience can do is it can shorten the gap of mastery.
Yeah, absolutely. It can shorten the gap of mastery. I love it. Faster, sooner, better, bigger.
Yeah, and then you don't have to spend, a number of years, honestly, just sort of, wandering around with sort of throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks and hoping for the best. You can have a better sense of, oh, my client is in chaos. They need some structure. And how do I know that? Because I know about the brain, not because I've coached a million clients in chaos. Yeah.
But I got to tell you, as someone who is probably not a million clients, I've probably coached thousands of clients. I totally see the impact of brain science, understanding how to move them faster. And a lot of it has come from the NLP training I have, but much of it has come from the experience of seeing people in the chaos and understanding the widening versus the narrowing, the pinpointing it. And I love that. Let's talk about how neuroscience in selling really makes a difference.
There's probably a number of different areas. The first place that my brain goes when I think about neuroscience and selling is, I like to say, and I'll explain this a little bit more, but I'd like to say it's the right brain that gets excited about something, but it's the left brain that writes the checks.
Yes, that's totally appropriate, and I get it. But explain it to our viewers.
Okay, well, so again, broaden and narrow. And so there's a lot of neuro myths about the right and left hemisphere. And one of the things we're pretty careful about in our programs is staying really up to date with current research, not doing something that's even 10 years old, because all of the understanding is moving and moving fast.
Evolving and growing.
Exactly. So, you know, there's neuro myths, but there's also neuro truth. And the truth about the right hemisphere is it's very broad. It sees everything. That's why you get chaos on that side. But it also is more tuned to things like purpose and meaning and the big picture. It has more of the areas of that fire for empathy. It has more of kind of the juiciness of life because of the way it sees the world. And it's not doing the same filtering, narrowing down, and discerning that the left hemisphere does. So you could say broadly, the right hemisphere is concerned with meaning and purpose, whereas the left hemisphere is concerned with utility. Wants to know, I like to say, Wendy Y, that whoever created the term human resources was in their left brain at the time. I'm sorry, can we just have human beings?
Yes.
I am not a resource for your capitalism. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the left brain wants to know, is this useful? Is it practical? How do we use it? How do I justify it? And so in terms of neuroscience and selling, you really want to have your message be both. You want to get this, get it excited, get the juiciness, and start there. Start with this, like, wouldn't this be, sorry for coaching language, but yummy? Like, wow, I want to do that.
Look, is that coaching language?
I don't know.
I was going to say, I use that all the time.
I love
never
it.
knew it was coaching. But you know, I think it's a sensory word. You know what I mean? It speaks to the senses in a big way. That's what I think.
I love that. I think just painting the picture and the excitement and the how this connects to who you are and all of that. But then for the left brain, before it writes the check, is going to want to know, how do I use this? How does this help me? How does it make me more money? Best thing you can ever sell is, you know, that left brain thinks that's really useful, making more money, you know, or being a better parent or whatever. You need to give the practical part, but don't just do the practical, because you won't get their attention, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like, I describe it this way. If you want a child to eat vegetables, you hide it in the rice. Or you hide it in the noodles. Like they're looking at it and they love rice, so they're eating and they're going, I don't know what that green thing was, but it was really good. You know, I didn't know that was a pea or a green bean or, you know, or broccoli. But it was good because you hid it in the rice. I liked it.
Yeah.
You know?
And you don't want to just eat rice and noodles, right? So you want to have the vegetables there as well.
Because it makes the whole dish complete.
Yeah, but
and yummy.
And yummy and nutritious. And I've seen too many coaches go to one side or the other, go to the total experience side and never give anybody practicalities, or go to the total, like, you know, return on investment side and not engage the heart. So that's one of the things I think of in terms of neuroscience and selling. I'm trying to think if there's others. If you were to tell me, like, what is the biggest challenge you think people have? Maybe I've got a neuroscience thought about that. I'll see.
I think that people think sales is sleazy, slimy, pushy, and salesy. And it has to be that way for you to be effective. And one of the things I try to coach my clients around is, if that's who you are, it's going to be that way. But if that's not who you are, then be who you are. You need to understand, like, the pieces of selling that need to be in place, and then insert your own personality and style and values into that. Then you're authentically selling.
I just love that, because you make me think, if that's who you are, if you're sleazy, slimy, and like that, that's the kind of coach you're going to be, or whatever product you're selling as well. Who wants that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is also a balancing. So and a lot of people, I think, come into coaching and the helping professions. They don't come in, a few, but mostly there's other things you can do to make
altruistic.
Yeah, they're altruistic. They actually want to serve. They want to help. They're more tuned into some more of those right hemisphere qualities, which would also be more tuned into sort of connection with others, being part of a we, all of that. And then you've got this other side that is more separate. That's sort of like, well, what about me? What do I have to offer? How do I stand up and stand out? And they can feel in conflict. They can feel like, to the brain, I can have one or the other. I can either have like this amazing, be part of this community, be this wonderful, part of the group and part of the whole, or I can stand out and be separate. But if I stand out and be separate, I'll lose that.
Yeah.
And I think that is, there's two thoughts about that. One is, I think we get socialized for this idea of polarity, like one or the other. You can either, be a good mom.
It doesn't have to be.
Right, it doesn't. And we know that in coaching, like, and our clients are like, I can either be successful or be a good mom. We're like, well, hold on. Like, why would you cut off part of yourself? Right? It's like cutting off your arm. So, when I think about this, I think a lot of times where people get into distress, it's where they have competing value, where they believe they have a competing value. And I'll tell you just a short story. I was getting ready to do a talk years ago, and I was getting some feedback from my fellow, I was a leader for one of the coaching schools at the time, and I was getting some feedback from them that they felt like I had the right to take up more space. Like, be bigger, like be the expert that I was. And I was in distress about it, because there was a part of me that was saying, if I do that, I'll lose community. I don't want to be so big that nobody likes me anymore. So I said to Ursula, my partner, we were having lunch, and I said, we weren't even drinking at the time. We were just having lunch. And I said, I need a new value, because I feel like I'm being pulled from one side or the other. On the one side, I have humility, which for me, humility is it's not about being small, but it's about being connected. It's about, I'm not better than you.
Relatable. Yeah.
Totally. And then on the other side, I called this value like bigness. There was a part of me that, I actually did want to stand out. I wanted to be like, I like being in front of the room.
Yeah.
Right. So the two were like, humility was saying, if you do that, you can't have me. Bigness was saying, if you do that, you can't have me. If you do humility, you can't have me, back and forth. And I'm like, you two need to learn to get along. You need that get along t-shirt, right?
Yeah, exactly. Come on, children.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good metaphor for this. So I made a new word. And my word was, it's a weird word. And my word was humiligness. And I said to Ursula, I don't know how to do that. And she said, good, that's your inquiry for the rest of your life. How do you do that?
What's the word again?
It's the two words together. It's humiligness.
Gotcha. Yeah,
humility and bigness got married.
I love it. I think it's great.
Isn't that fun?
Because what I'm hearing and what you said is you found a way for the right brain and the left brain to work together, not compete, but to work together.
Yes.
That's awesome.
To be linked rather than having a fight where one wins and then I lose a part of myself.
Yeah.
Right.
So to get back to how this applies to selling, I can see people coming to me, which I see often. They come to me and they want to sell more, but they are concerned that selling makes them salesy, slimy, sleazy, and pushy. And I always like to tell them that those are like personal nouns, right? So each one of those is a name, and each word has a capital first letter, right? Because they're like personas, if you will.
Yeah.
And those personas don't exist. You've got to shift and reframe your thinking about what selling looks like, because selling is totally about connection.
Communication, relationship. Those are like, I like when you say their personas are like archetypes, rather than saying and I think maybe the question there, and where the story that I was telling relates, is, well, what values do I want to honor as I sell? Which it sounds like what you ask. You know, who do you
Totally.
know? Years ago, I read a lot of Neil Donald Walsh. He wrote the Conversations with God books, and in one of the books, he says there are only ever two questions: who do I want to be, and what would love do? And those are questions that have been, isn't that just great, anchor points for my life? When I get lost, I come back to, well, if I'm going to sell, who do I want to be as I'm selling? Because if I have to not be that, then I'm selling the wrong thing, or I'm in the wrong place, or I'm selling to the wrong people, if I can't be the person I want to look at in the mirror at the end of the day.
Yeah. And how does love,
what would love do?
What would love do?
And then for many of us as coaches, then I also had to have this image for love, that love wasn't just coming out from here, but it was coming from the back, like angel wings, and including me, right? That it's loving to me. It's not just I'm giving all this love to everybody else, but how, what is loving for me? I don't maybe want to work for $100. That's not loving to me. Maybe it's loving to this nonprofit who really wants me, but it doesn't feel right here. So love has to include me and them.
Nice. So we're going to take a quick break, Ann, and when we come back, we will do our profitable wisdom segment. Okay. Be back in just a sec.
Have you heard about the new Black Business Directory? Welcome to Click Urban. Here, you can find hundreds of businesses owned by us. Whatever business professional you're looking for, they're right here. And the best part is, membership is absolutely free. Just go to www.theclickurban.com, sign up for a free account, create your free listing, and boom, you're done. Begin surfing the largest Black business directory online and be seen by hundreds of customers and clients, all in one place. Get exposure on all of the major search engines, including Google. Our innovative platform includes search engine optimization that will make your listing easy to find. This is the hottest new business directory created for us, by us. Join today. Go to www.theclickurban.com.
Hey folks, Simon T. Bailey. Have you lost your spark? Is a job just a job? Is a relationship just a relationship? Is a business just a business? Well, I've taken the last couple of years to do some deep diving questions and asking myself, did I ever lose my spark? Yeah, I have. And when I lost my spark, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to quit. But I decided that, guess what? When you find your spark, you find your joy. And when you find your joy, you find your people. And when you find your people, you find your voice. So when you find your voice, you connect with people who get you, you tap into your joy, and you become the spark for everyone around you. So I've put together this book, Be the Spark. I'm so happy to bring this to the marketplace because I believe it will become the guide that will give you the kickstart that will enable you to light it up wherever you go. So if you say, Simon, I've lost the spark at home, in business, in life, and you and your friends are saying, you know what, I really want a prescription that is sustainable. And I believe as I share my stories, my pain of what I went through, that you're going to be equipped with tips, tools, and techniques on how you can be the spark. So listen, go to simontbailey.com, get the book, and remember, I love you and I believe in you. and there's not a darn thing you can do about it.
Hello, I'm Rhonda Height, and you are tuned in to the Profitable Coaching Conversation Show with Wendy Y. Bailey. Like, comment, review, and subscribe now so that you are notified when the next episode goes live.
Hi, I'm Rashonda Pratt, known online as The Rose Show Live, and you're tuned in to Profitable Coaching Conversations with Wendy Y. Bailey. Make sure to like, comment, review, subscribe so you'll know when the next conversation goes live.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Victor, and you're tuned in to the Profitable Coaching Conversation Show with Wendy Y. Bailey. Like, comment, review, and subscribe now so you're notified when the next episode goes live.
Okay, we're back and we're talking with Ann Betz, who is one of the leaders in the field of neuroscience and coaching. And it's time for our Profitable Wisdom segment. Ann, you ready?
I think so. Lay it on me.
Okay, awesome. Who has had the greatest influence on you in your life and business?
Oh, my business partner, Ursula Pottinga. She was my first coach. I hired her because she has a very no-nonsense way of working on things, but she's also incredibly loving. And she's taught me a lot about just like what it is to have a really healthy relationship.
Nice. Very, very nice. What's the best business advice you've ever received?
I think, well, the thing that immediately comes to mind, I've had some wonderful little angels kind of fly in and then fly out, you know, and one of them was a guy I knew in Minneapolis years ago. And the best business advice he had was, at the time we were working with a very complex model. And he just looked at me and he said, I love what you're doing. Nobody can remember this. You need to narrow it down. And in that moment, like sort of that was like this moment where the next evolution of our work was born because of him saying that. And I think about, I've had other little moments where somebody has just flown in and said, well, what if you did it this way? I actually don't even remember the guy's name. And he bought me lunch that day. And I know.
I love it.
It was such great advice. And I've thought about that ever since. Like, if a model that you're working with has too many pieces and parts where the only person who understands it is the facilitator or the coach, it's not gonna stand the test of time.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. And what has been your largest single sale? What were the circumstances and the amount?
It probably wasn't a single sale, but it was a relationship with an international company where they brought me in to help design and lead. They wanted to create a coaching culture in one of their big leadership programs. This is a big international company, one of the biggest. I'm not supposed to say their name. And that has been probably, over the years that I've worked with them, over $100,000. And the first year was probably 30,000 in the first year. So it's probably way more than 100,000. I have never added it up. And the circumstances were that I was teaching a class on coaching. I used to work for the Coaches Training Institute and had two of the HR people in my class. And because I could talk about the neuroscience behind the coaching, they came to me and they said, we want to bring coaching in, but we've never found anybody that we think will have credibility with our people who were auditors. So we're talking logical, linear, and they said, we think you will have you'll have credibility. So that to me was, whatever I had invested in my training, which is probably about 10 grand that I had invested in training in neuroscience. It's more since then, but at the time, I got back because I had this credibility in the.
What did you do to celebrate, Ann?
Oh my gosh.
I know it's been a while ago, but
It's a really good question. I think, well, the two things come to mind. One was that I bought everybody on the team cashmere scarves that year. That was my celebration and my thank you.
Yes.
They were also wonderful to work with. They were wonderful. They still are. And then the other thing was that I was divorced at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a really smarty pants son who's now in graduate school, and he was going to a very expensive college. And there was a real question for me: can I, as a single mom, as a coach, earn enough money to pay my share of this college? And I think the celebration was probably just this, like, yeah, this is gonna
relief.
That is gonna pay. And every year that paid his that client alone paid his tuition bill. And I have always been so grateful to them for that opportunity, because it really, that was my base. That was a big piece of base that I knew I could just count on. And so
Awesome.
Got my son through college.
So we all have times as entrepreneurs when we think of giving up for whatever reason. What has helped you move through that time?
It's such a good question. I have a bias around this, which is, I think, it is so helpful to have a partner or to have partners, whether that's your mastermind group, or for me, I have been business partners with with Ursula, who I talked about before, for 18 years. And we have this metaphor that every so often, one of us, it feels like we're climbing a mountain together, and we're roped in together, and one of us will fall down the crevasse, and we'll get really depressed, and we'll just be like, I can't see a way out. And the other one will kind of lean down and go, do you want me to come down there? Do you want me to throw you a rope? Do you need some hot tea?
Yeah.
And so it's very, very common that one of us will call the other one and say, I need you to talk me off the ledge. And we do, and we use the tools that we've developed through our own work with neuroscience. And so I feel like we've just been kind of just like climbers on Mount Everest. We've just been taking turns, taking the lead, climbing the mountain together. And she has kept me from giving up, and I've kept her from giving up. There's another answer to that as well, real quick. The other thing is that there came a point in our business together where we said, we will not cancel programs. And I don't care if we've got 3 people, we're going to run.
It's a commitment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
care.
a commitment.
And I think it's, for me, in my language, I would say it's a way of saying, telling the universe, you can mess with me, I'm staying.
Right. Not going anywhere, still going to do this.
You might as well support me, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's your greatest personal accomplishment outside of your business?
Oh, my greatest, 2 things, I think, but probably more. Outside of my business, I think it is my greatest personal accomplishment is learning to truly live with grace.
Not being hard on yourself.
Yeah. And when COVID hit this year, earlier, I asked myself that question that we talked about earlier: who do I want to be? I can't control this. I can't control what happens. We had to completely redo our whole business, which has actually been great. But, it was a lot. And I said, I don't want to live in fear around this, but I can't control what's going to happen externally. So who do I want to be to get through this? And that was the word that came to me. I want to be graceful. Which, sometimes that means being transparent and calling a friend and saying, talk me off the ledge. It's really getting to me right now. Yeah. But I think this ability to not do a spiritual bypass around the stresses of life, but also navigate them with grace, I'm really proud of that.
Nice. Very, very nice. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll hear your parting thought, and we'll be right back. One of the benefits of being in my business for more than 18 years is, as I've grown to serve my ideal clients more fully, I've also amassed a lot of really amazing content to support them. I decided a couple of years ago that I would create More Coaching Client Sales and Marketing Academy. And it's designed to help in 3 key areas of focus and discovery: mindset, marketing, and sales. Mindset is everything. That is my personal mantra. And as my personal mantra, what I try to do is elevate the mind of my clients so that you can get bigger, bolder, better, everything in your business. It means greater clients. It means you're able to step into sales in a big way. It also means that you can market and promote yourself because you understand the value you're bringing to the marketplace. Marketing is part of that promotion that you do. It's making sure that you are on the right platforms, and being on the right platforms, you can successfully attract your most ideal clients and serve them fully. Sales means that you actually learn what it means to step into that sales conversation and walk your clients down the path of enrolling in working with you. I love More Coaching Client Sales and Marketing Academy, not just because of these 3 key areas, but there's a lot of nuts and bolts there as well. I give live training once a month. They're monthly one-on-one office hours. That means I get to coach you as a member of the Academy. There are video replays, there are discussion forum, there's a program concierge who's managing the content and making sure if you have any questions, you get them addressed. If you have any problems or hiccups, there's someone there to support you. There's a ton of recommended tools and resources as well. And because this is just one of the many offerings I have, I also offer you savings opportunities to connect with me in other ways. Don't just take what I say. Join the Academy so that you can create high-value, high-dollar programs. You can sell high-dollar services and programs with grace and ease. Build relationships with more of your most ideal clients. Create lead magnets that attract more of your most ideal clients. Develop your unique and authentic selling strategy. Gain more visibility for your program, services, and products. Become a marketplace influencer on the right platforms. Accelerate your income quickly and strategically. And create consistent monthly income of $10,000 or more. It's designed to accelerate your income. Don't take my word for it. What Academy members say, like Sharita Sparrow, therapeutic arts master of the Feathers Touch, she says, once upon a time, I struggled in my business when it came to increasing my rates. I felt uncomfortable charging the true value for my therapeutic art services. After working with Wendy Y, I instantly doubled my income. She showed me how to reframe my approach to charging what I deserve, no more shortchanging myself. Not just Sharita, there's also Rebecca. Rebecca said, I would be happy to speak to anyone considering Wendy Y's services. My investment in working with her saw a financial return of 200%, along with additional coaching and speaking opportunities. All I can say is thank you, Wendy Y. Thank you, Rebecca. And then there is Wilma. Wilma says, working with Wendy Y is a great fit for me. I feel that I'm in partnership with a coach who is helping me achieve my business goals. Wendy Y's suggestions are on the money, and I'm learning so much. I now have a new way to acquire customers who are willing to work with me and are excited about positive change. Wendy Y, you are the one for me. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Wilma. And then finally, there is Kenneth. Kenneth says, Wendy Y is such a professional coach and transformational expert. She always knows exactly what to say or do to make sure that I stay on track with my business. She knows if I need a marketing strategy, a better technique, or a mindset shift. All of it weighs in, and I appreciate having you as a member, Kenneth. So let me just say to you, I'm looking for an elite group of members for the Academy at this point. And because it's such an elite group, I've got an elite number for you. For the first 100 members, and I'm ticking them off, there are less than 100 spots available now, you can become a member at More Coaching Client Sales and Marketing Academy for $88.88 per month. That's all it is. You get all of what I've described for $88.88. 8 is a number for abundance, and I'm so excited to extend this special opportunity for the first 100 elite members of More Coaching Client Sales and Marketing Academy to you. Go to morecoachingclients.com and enroll today. So we're back, and we've been talking for this episode with Ann Betz. We've been talking about neuroscience and coaching and neuroscience and selling, and it's just been a very enlightening conversation with Ann. If there's one thing, Ann, that you'd love for our audience to walk away from this, what is that nugget, that parting thought that you can lend to the whole conversation with them?
Yeah, for me, it's sort of like don't fall too much in love with the brain, because what's really required is the integration of the brain and the body and the heart. And sometimes I think what some of our students would say sort of by the end of our program is, we came in through the brain, but we ended up at the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do
Nice.
think that is what really matters.
Yeah, very, very nice. And you have a gift for our viewers. What is that gift? Tell us about it.
Yeah, if you go to the link to my website and you go down to the bottom, and you can click on to get a free copy of what we call our 7 levels of effectiveness. And this is the model that I mentioned that we originally started out with, but we validated it with science. So you can get a little wallet card from that. We'll ship it anywhere in the world.
Awesome. And thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and your insight around the neuroscience of selling.
Wendy Y, it has been an absolute delight. I could talk to you all day, and I feel like there's 8 million places we didn't even go. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time for another episode of the Profitable Coaching Conversation Show. Be sure to join us over at the Society at profitablecoachingsociety.com. See you then. Take care.
Thanks so much for tuning into Profitable Coaching Conversations with Wendy Y. Bailey. Be sure to join us at the after party at www.profitablecoachingsociety.com. We'll see you next time for more sales and marketing wisdom and insight from Wendy Y. and her amazing guests. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you know when new episodes are posted.